Have you ever heard a story so chilling, so real, that it stays with you long after the telling? A story that makes you look over your shoulder when you're walking alone at night? Today, we're diving deep into one such legend. A tale that has haunted the shores of a quiet lake for decades. A story known simply as the Lady of the Lake. This isn't your typical campfire ghost story. This is a local legend woven into the very fabric of the community, whispered from one generation to the next. It's a story that captivates and terrifies in equal measure, drawing paranormal enthusiasts and curious skeptics from all over. What is it about this particular spirit that holds such power over the local imagination? Is she a figment of collective fear, or is there something truly otherworldly lingering by the water's edge? Our journey begins in the year 1943. While the world was caught in the turmoil of war, a different kind of story was taking root in this small, unassuming town. A local historian named Anne Clark was the first to officially document the strange occurrences and whispered rumors that had been circulating. In her journals, she compiled eyewitness accounts, creating the first written record of the entity that would become the Lady of the Lake. According to Clark's research, the legend centers on the apparition of a young woman. She's almost always described in the same way, dressed in a simple, soaking wet white dress that clings to her form. Her hair is long and dark, plastered to her face and shoulders, as if she has just emerged from the depths of the lake. Witnesses say she appears near the shoreline, often during foggy nights or just as dusk settles over the water, her figure a stark, pale silhouette against the darkening landscape. She doesn't scream or make grand gestures. Her presence is one of profound, silent sorrow. People who claim to have seen her speak of an overwhelming feeling of sadness that washes over them, a cold chill that has nothing to do with the evening air. She's often seen walking aimlessly along the water's edge, her head bowed, sometimes staring out across the still, dark surface of the lake as if waiting for someone who will never return. So, who was she? That's the question at the heart of the mystery. Over the years, several origin stories have emerged, each trying to give a name and a past to the sorrowful spirit. One of the most popular and tragic tales is that of a young woman who was set to be married. On the eve of her wedding, her beloved fiancé tragically drowned in the lake during a sudden storm. Consumed by grief, she couldn't bear to live without him. Dressed in her white wedding gown, she walked into the very same waters to join him in death. Now, her spirit is said to be forever bound to the lake, eternally searching for her lost love. Another version of the story paints a darker picture. This tale speaks of a young mother who, in a moment of utter desperation and poverty, made an unthinkable choice. Unable to care for her child, she drowned the infant in the lake before taking her own life. In this version, her ghostly wanderings are a form of penance. She is doomed to roam the shores, her grief a tangible force, forever tormented by her actions and searching for the child she lost. This variation adds a layer of moral complexity and deep tragedy to the apparition, turning her from a romantic figure into a cautionary one. A third, more sinister theory suggests she was the victim of a violent crime. Some believe she was a young woman who was murdered and her body disposed of in the lake, her spirit unable to rest until her killer is brought to justice and her story is truly known. This version explains her sorrowful appearance as a plea for help, a silent cry from beyond the grave for her story to be heard and for her to find peace. These are just the most common stories. Dozens of other variations exist, each adding a unique brushstroke to the portrait of this enigmatic figure. What's fascinating is how the details shift, but the core image remains the same. A girl, a wet white dress, and an overwhelming sense of loss. But are these just stories? Or is there evidence to support the claims? For decades, locals and visitors have reported strange encounters near the lake. People speak of seeing a flickering white light dancing over the water, only to vanish when they get closer. Others have reported hearing faint, sorrowful cries carried on the wind when no one else is around. Some drivers who travel the road that winds along the lake report a more terrifying experience. A young woman in a white dress suddenly appearing in their headlights, forcing them to swerve. When they stop to check on her, she's gone without a trace. Paranormal investigators have been drawn to this location for years, armed with EMF meters, thermal cameras, and audio recorders. Some investigations have yielded intriguing results. Electronic voice phenomena, or EVPs, have reportedly captured faint whispers that sound like a woman's voice, though the words are often indistinct. Some investigators have recorded sudden, unexplained drops in temperature in specific spots along the shore, a classic sign often associated with spiritual energy. One of the most compelling modern accounts comes from a group of friends who were camping by the lake a few years ago. Late at night, as they sat around their dying campfire, they saw a figure emerge from the mist near the water. They described her exactly as the legend does, a woman in a wet white dress. They were frozen, watching as she slowly walked along the beach before turning to look directly at them. They said her eyes were hollow, filled with an ancient sadness that seemed to pierce right through them. Then, as quickly as she appeared, she faded back into the fog. They were so shaken by the experience that they packed up their camp in the middle of the night and left, vowing never to return after dark. Of course, skeptics offer rational explanations for these sightings. The figure in the road, it could be a deer, its eyes reflecting the headlights. The sorrowful cries, the wind whistling through the trees, or the call of a loon across the water. The ghostly apparitions, simply tricks of the light, fog, and an overactive imagination fueled by a well-known local legend. Psychologists call this phenomenon expectancy, where we are more likely to perceive something if we are already primed to expect it. But for those who have seen her, for those who have felt the bone-deep chill and that overwhelming sense of sorrow, the explanations fall flat. For them, the Lady of the Lake is not just a story, she is a real, tangible presence. She is a reminder of love, loss, and the tragedies that can tether a soul to a place. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, the legend of the Lady of the Lake serves a powerful purpose. It's a part of the local identity, a piece of shared folklore that connects people to the history and the mystery of their home. It reminds us that some stories are more than just entertainment. They are a way of processing the great, universal themes of life: love, grief, tragedy, and the eternal question of what comes after. So, the next time you find yourself near a still, quiet lake as twilight begins to fall, listen closely. Look into the mists that rise from the water. You might just see a flicker of white at the edge of your vision. And if you do, you'll know you're not alone. You're in the presence of the Lady of the Lake, a timeless guardian of sorrow and a legend that will likely haunt these shores for generations to come. What do you think? Is she a grieving bride, a tormented mother, or a victim seeking justice? Or is it all just a story? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this dive into the unknown, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more mysteries.